Hey, what's up? Hello, this is yet another vlog of mine, and I don't know, today I'm feeling, I need to get a couple things out of the way, alright? I need to thank everyone involved with the production of The Walking Dead for finally killing Andrea. I would assume that there are many other of you potentially watching this vlog even that share the same feeling as I do. I was absolutely just captivated the second that Rick opened that door and I saw Milton. I just started screaming, "Fuck yes!" Because I just knew. I knew it. Andrea would finally die. Um, yeah. So, take a second to mourn her loss, but not all too long, as she was so fucking annoying, but was completely needed to keep the plot going. I think that some of the plot direction that eventually found its way, toward like the end of this season, involving her was a little bit just drawn out. Like, all right, but I'm glad they killed her off. That just made me so effing happy. And yeah, so a nice note to start this vlog on. I figured I don't think I've done something like this before. If I did, I'm quite sorry for doing it again. But this whole WCS conundrum, I wanted to make, so this is going to be a somewhat serious vlog, as opposed to the majority of my other vlogs, which are kind of just lighthearted and me poking fun at random people and talking about random shit that occurred to me during the day, random stories and stuff. But this is actually going to be somewhat philosophical. I'm not. What can you actually do with a degree in philosophy? Like, I was under the assumption that that was kind of for people that had absolutely no idea what they wanted to do with their life. But if there is any actual use aside from teaching others about philosophy after you complete your doctorate, then please let me know. But I mean, it's not. You generally see people get graduate degrees in X or Y in order to supplement that. Like, I can see that being used as a backbone, and like through your university stay, kind of developing an idea of what the hell you actually want to do with the rest of your life, and then using that degree to go into a graduate program. That makes sense, right? But I'm gonna get all philosophical on your ass. I don't know. I kind of find myself asking the question, with all this WCS talk and then the Koreans and the foreigners talking and stuff. It's just like there are two kinds of people in this world. In my opinion, there are two kinds of people in this world. There are people that ask the question why, and there are people that ask themselves why not. And this is, I mean, you can think of this as YOLO to a certain extent. And this entire idea is derived from the meme YOLO. I was, and this applies to my life too, because I was in a position where I had missed out on, of course I was a piano major in my undergrad. I missed out on practicing for so long. And due to various health ailments, to injuries, repetitive strain injuries, stuff like that, and of course my bike crashed too. That was fucking annoying as shit. And I got to the point where I was listening to music, and I listened to a majority of classical music, and I keep asking, like, why not? When I hear a piece. And you'll know this if you're a musician. You hear pieces and you're like, I can't fucking play this. Like, even at the level of skill I'm above average. But there comes a point where you're like, I can't fucking play this. And then, like, it just hits you one day. And you're like, well, why not? Why can't I play this? Why am I not capable of playing this? Why do I have this idea in my head that I am not physically capable of performing this piece? And it got to the point where, hey, alright, chose this piece. It was actually, if you happen to know classical music, the Chaconne, the Bach Chaconne, for solo violin. It was transcribed for piano by Busoni. Ferruccio Busoni. He was very dramatic. He was a romantic composer and really, really good analytical mind and absolutely stellar performer. But he had a flair, as most romantic composers did, he had a flair for the egregious and completely over the top, as was the piece. So it's a very, very difficult piece. It's one of the more difficult pieces in piano literature. It's a staple for a lot of players going into a performance route through various recording careers. You generally see or hear, I guess, majority of the popular performing artists, pianists of the time, have played it at some point and recorded it in a studio performance at some point. And I was listening to it, and I was listening to Michelangelo play it, and he is a god. There is no recording of that piece as clean as it, and there are, in the piece, which is very, very common for Busoni, there are parts where you can't physically play all of the notes that are written on the page at the same time. So you kind of have to use the pedal for it, and it's like you have just completely displaced like 4 octaves, but you're supposed to actually play like all the 4 octaves doing runs and shit. It's not physically capable, but aside from that, it's very technically demanding. And as this would be of any, you can really list any piece here. And I, for the longest time, following like freshman, sophomore year of college, where I just sustained. First, I got arthritis, and then first I had surgery on my shoulder, and then I developed arthritis, and then I developed lower back problems, then upper back problems, knee problems, all that shit, and then eventually Raynaud's, and I got to a point where I was finally capable of playing for a couple minutes, for like 10, 15 minutes at a time, multiple intervals. I did smaller practice times added up to around an hour a day or so. No, of course, nowhere near what I was. And I just asked myself, like, why not? It came on. I remember, honestly, I was playing a game on Shattered Temple, and it came on my iTunes. And I just was like, all right, I have to look at this piece. So I looked at the sheet music of this piece, and I was like, this is really fucking hard. But then I couldn't list anything in why I was not actually capable of playing the piece anymore, because I was at a point where I could finally play the piano again, albeit in very small intervals. And I was like, okay. I printed it out and I started working on it. And it took me a year and a half to learn it, because through this I was developing up my, like, actually being my tolerance, my endurance for playing the piano, coming out of like years of physical therapy and having previously had surgery and stuff. And having points in the year where I legitimately could not play. It's much more manageable now. I don't know why, if I've grown older, if there's something I'm doing right. But Raynaud's doesn't bother me as much, but my fingers used to swell up like sausages in the wintertime due to the change in weather. And there was really nothing I could do about it. So I was just couldn't play. And it got to the point where I'd finally learned the piece. And I just like look back on it, and there was... there are so many people that are always asking why, and you know those type of people. They're like, well, what are you doing this weekend? It may not even be something like that. It's a little bit more substantial than that. This is a common thing. Like when you're partaking in some endeavor. It could be me learning music. It can be someone learning a language. Someone reading a book that is like a non-fiction book, not like a kind of pleasure reading book. And people are always asking, like, why are you doing this? Why? You don't need a reason. Like, you can just respond to them, and why not? Like, really, think about it. Take your peek at your brain and think about the reasons why I shouldn't be doing this if I have the time and it's something that I really enjoy doing. And those are the people that are more successful in life. The people that ask why are generally not either not happy with what they're doing, or it doesn't even need to be successful from a financial standpoint, from an economic or status standpoint. It can be simply for they're successful in that they're happy what they're doing. You don't constantly need a list of reasons why you're doing X or Y. If it's something you want to do, that should be enough. And it comes full circle, coming back to StarCraft now. The Koreans are really good at StarCraft. They're really fucking good at StarCraft. No one's going to deny that. Ever. But they're not superior as a race. There's no physical limit that makes people far into Korea incapable of performing to that level. We've seen it now and then. We've seen these spurts where there are certain foreigners here and there that like really are spectacularly solid at the game. As much as I dislike him, actually, I have to say, I previously disliked him, but the interview he did with Calour actually kind of turned me around on that a little bit. Or no, it wasn't with Calour, it was with, it was with EG, wasn't it? Stefano interview. I used to hate him because he was kind of like an entitled douchebag. He had this air of an entitled douchebag. And I think he's kind of finally getting it now that he's not as good at the game anymore. You kind of need a shock like that to set you straight. And he was like ridiculously solid back when he won IPL 3. I mean, no one will deny that. And like, what was he doing? He was doing something that 99% of other foreigners have kind of discounted as being just completely nonsensical. Like, how can a foreigner participate or like partake in a tournament at this level of play and like actually progress through GSL and stuff? We saw Jinro, we saw fucking Idra did it at one point. But now we look, and as foreigners ourselves, we look on the scene and we're like, well, foreigners are not actually good. They're not that good. And so many professional foreign players are like, I can't be that good. And that's the wrong mindset. Jaedong is in recent interview. It's awesome. It's like really good interview that he did following his GSTL win, or not GSL, Pro League win. Where he actually won the ace match against Sulky. He played very well in that match. He has very good ZBZ, right? And he said that having a positive mindset affects him more than, like, having that change from a negative mindset that he had stated prior to Coach Park joining to the positive mindset that Coach Park is insisting that he try and make an attempt to hold. It has helped him more than anything, and that's true, right? There's not some magical feat that you need to like accomplish in order to actually be successful at the game. It's simply acknowledging the fact that you are capable as an individual of being at that skill level. And if you just take a look at yourself and you're like, well, I'm a foreigner SC2 pro. I play this game for a living. I'm on a team. I get paid actually full time to do this. Why am I not at that level? And you take a look and you list the things. Why am I? How can I better myself to achieve these goals? And you actually complete the things on that list, right? It's not that hard. It's not that hard at all. It's literally just like learning a piece of music. Yeah, there are different parts of it that are really fucking hard, but eventually you do X and you do Y and you learn it. It's as simple as that. And it's not necessarily as cut and dry, but the application is the same, and the end result is the same. Foreigners can be as good as the Koreans. You don't need WCS, NA, and EU, and Korea to have these whole like contentious lines between them. Like, oh, fuck, the NA scene is utterly horrid. Pult's gonna stomp it. He is gonna stomp it, mind you. Like that, Pult will wreck everyone. He will wreck FaZe. He will come into that tournament, and if he drops a game, I will be sad, because I won't even know how to live with myself after that. Pult fucking dropping a game to foreigners now. But back to reality. And then the EU is a little bit better than that, and the Korean, obviously, the Korean scene's a little bit fucked up after WCS. I'll definitely have a vlog on my thoughts on like the whole WCS process and how it's going to impact GSL and all of those tournaments over there. But it doesn't have to be that way. Like, if foreigners just had a different mindset, they would be better at the game. If they were capable of actually sitting down and having constructive practice for extended periods of time, that would be different. And everybody, like, if this video, I know this vlog, like 2 people are gonna watch it, but if this vlog were ever to be shown to like pro gamers like Huck and stuff, they would say I'm wrong, but I'm not. And that's the difference in these two kinds of people: the people that are asking why and the people that are asking themselves why not. Even if you outwardly think like he's fucking wrong, if you just think about it and you just like take a look at yourself, you can't deny that you have the potential to be that X, as good as X person or Y person. It's not something where the Koreans are like genetically superior to be engineered to be better StarCraft 2 players. It doesn't work like that. And you're completely ignorant if you think it works like that, because it doesn't. And yeah, so I don't know. That was just a little rant that I had. I hope I haven't offended too many people from that. It's really just a kind of an objective look at life, and I know I keep berating Huck with this shit, but like Huck, his tweets are just silly. And his perspective on life is like silly. But I really hope him the best of luck, and I wish everyone in the scene the best of luck, because honestly, as a caster, I want to cast better games. And if the foreigner scene ever gets up to the point where we have multiple people that can compete on par with Koreans, and there's not like the on par, which means like, oh cool, I'm fucking playing a Korean in a tournament and I can take a game off him. No, like actually in the games I can be casting it and I can be like, X is as good as Y. I can count the games I've cast between foreigners and Koreans that I could actually think that on one hand. And I've been casting for a long fucking time. I've been casting for 2-3 years at this point. I've been casting SE2 for 2 to 3 years at this point. And I can count the amount of series that I have actually thought that on my fucking hand. And it's not... Foreigners are capable of doing that. It's not... Yes, the fact that society in Korea accepts PC gaming a little bit more than is like the case in the US. Yes, they have a lot better infrastructure in team houses, and they actually practice in team houses, and this is what it comes down to. I'm a musician. I understand. Like, I get it. I practice. There's practice where you're not thinking about shit, and there's practice where you're actually constructively, you have your mind 100% focused and you're thinking about this. In your studies, you've all encountered that too. I didn't actually engage my brain in things that I didn't want to until I was actually finished with my undergraduate degree, and I was starting to learn Japanese, and I was like, all right. And even now I have times where I'm just like on the subway or stuff, I'm like flipping through kanji shit, and I'm like alt tabbing to check Team Liquid and shit. I'm not paying attention, but I know that, and I can acknowledge that, and I will say exactly, looking back on the day, at X or Y time, I did not have my head in the game. And it comes to a point where foreigners just need to get their head in the game, and they need to get a constructive practice regimen, and they need to get better. Because if WCS hits and Koreans actually move to NA and EU, I mean, eventually we're coming into a spot where we'll have foreigner personalities and Korean pro gamers, and there won't be any foreign pro gamers. And it's kind of getting to that point at the moment. Because, like, you've seen it, players are starting to retire. The scene isn't dying by any stretch of the imagination, and there are enough foreigner tournaments, and there is enough lucrative business in streaming and esports outside of simply playing in tournaments for foreigners to sustain themselves. This is by no means the sky is falling vlog. Hell fucking no. I think people who think that are myopic, and I can call them other names too, but I won't. Just get better. Ask yourself why not. Next thing you have something you really legitimately want to do, ask yourself why not. And if there's not if you want to like run a marathon and both of your legs are amputated, you don't have the don't have the financial backing to be able to get other can't think of the word. You can't have your appendages constructed via man. You can't afford man-made appendages. I can't think. Prosthetic limbs. There we go. Holy freaking just absolute mindfuck there. You can't afford prosthetic limbs, then yes, you are physically incapable of running a marathon, and I'm sorry. I wish you better luck. Eventually, potentially, you will have the fortune turn around where you win the lottery, you buy prosthetic limbs, and you run and you win the marathon. But unless you're in a situation like that, you can do X and you can do Y. It's not completely out of means. So I hope this has been a long rant. I probably rambled on a lot more than was actually my strict points that I wanted to make. But it's something that I've seen on Twitter a lot in WCS related stuff and on Reddit and on Team Liquid and shit. And just, I felt the need to get it out there. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I will definitely put another happy-go-lucky vlog. I'll make my next vlog fun. Regardless of what the hell I do, I'll make it fun. And I'll make an attempt to do that. As I pull my beanbag. I have a hole in the beanbag that I use for my wrist. And they just like fall out every now and then. So I just like throw them around the room and then vacuum them up later because I'm a boss like that. I hope you enjoyed. Peace.